This is Living Your Authentic Life. I'm Aiden.
And I'm Emma.
And today, we're tired.
Yeah, so we thought it would be a great idea to kick this episode off with talking about self-care when your energy is low.
Yeah, and also coming at it from a place of, I guess, warmth and empathy. Especially because sometimes when your energy's low, it's the hardest time to actually do self-care.
Yeah. Yeah, we divert to conditioned methods, right? Like for me, it's watching too much TV and eating junk food.
And for me, it's escaping into a fan fiction, which I have absolutely been doing way too much of recently.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Oh my God. I can quit whenever I want.
Sure you can. All right. No, I totally believe in you. But yeah, okay. So I think we've got a few topics to touch on here.
Yeah.
Because one, I think it's okay to have a little bit of escapism, right?
Yeah.
But it's when it's done in excess or whatever kind of not great habit that you've got that you divert to when you're tired. It's when we do it to excess, it's when we rely on it too often because we know that it doesn't really refill your cup.
Yeah, it's when that kind of things start to get hard and you have the longing and the urge to like just jump straight into whatever is going to distract you. Yeah. And you're turning to that escapism like specifically because it is an escape and because it's an opportunity for you to put off doing whatever it is that you should be doing to actually take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, for example, work has been quite stressful for me recently. And so instead of doing all of the stuff that I need to do, kind of general house stuff like taking care of my pets, making sure that I'm like hygienically taking care of myself, I'm immediately like, I will do that stuff. But first, I deserve to zone out and like not think about anything and just like turn off my brain. And that's fine to some extent. But when I'm like 3 hours later starting another fan fiction thinking like it's fine because like I'll still get to that stuff, I still have time.
Yeah.
And then I'm staying up too late to try and actually don't. And then I don't anyway. Yeah. And I just
and I think everyone can relate to that, right? It's that like level of procrastination, and we have this inner monologue telling a story of like, oh, I'll walk my dogs later.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just finish this episode and then I'll walk my dogs. And then you roll on to the next episode and you go, oh, you know, it's still kind of hot out. I'll wait till it gets cooler.
Yeah.
You know, and then even sometimes I might get out of the funk that I'm in and get preoccupied with a task and I'm still ignoring my responsibilities.
Yeah. I call that lateral procrastination. So that's
I like that.
It's good, right?
Like that.
It's when you like are doing stuff that it's not really important stuff to do, but you're still feeling productive and feeling like, okay, well, I'm doing something. I'm not just sitting on my phone.
Yeah.
And so you have that sense of like getting something done, but you're totally ignoring the stuff that you need to get done. All of the really important stuff like the housework and walking your dogs and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. But having said that, like, I do think there's something to be said for lateral procrastination.
Yeah.
I really do, because I think if you get stuck in a funk, that's actually a great way to give yourself a little energy boost, right? Like just achieving something or just having your mind preoccupied to the point where you've now stopped overthinking about whatever it is that
you've kind of disrupted the cycle, right? You've stopped yourself from doing the same thing that you have been doing, and it's not something that's important, it's not something that you need to be doing, but it is something that's giving you that little bit of like a dopamine.
Exactly. So like yesterday I bought a sewing machine like 5 or 6 months ago.
Incredible.
And I literally never like did.
Have you sewn before?
A little bit with my old neighbor who you met, right? Yeah. She taught me a little bit and helped me kind of alter some clothes and make some sofa covers, which was amazing. So all the sewing knowledge I have literally comes from her. And I say that being, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
I barely know how to use a sewing machine, but it's been on my mind constantly. So like you say, it's not an important task. It's not really something that's, I guess, going to affect the big things like my career or my mental health or whatever it is. But it's been something that's on my mind as a task that I wanted to do or a skill I wanted to start learning, and I was just never getting around to it. And then this week I've been pretty low energy. I haven't had as many clients booked in, and so I've had more free time and was Netflixing, eating too many snacks. I was taking naps during the day, which was really pointing to me that like I was tired for whatever reason, like I needed more rest. But just going off and doing this side task and going, all right, today I'm going to sew. And I'm going to start teaching myself how to sew, and I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to stop thinking about all the reasons why it's too hard.
Yeah.
And
the excuses for why you shouldn't be doing that right now, because what I should really be doing is making sure that the dogs are being well exercised, or
or I should be working on my business or doing marketing or whatever it is. And that's something I've worked really hard on this week, is when I'm in these low energy states, and when that's paired with, for me, obviously working for myself, my entire income comes from having clients booked in my diary.
Yeah.
But I always know, like, when I need money, and also when I'm just like energetic and I'm ready to work and I'm really excited to be working with people, like my diary just fills up. I'll get lots of new clients come in.
Yeah.
It just happens. It manifests itself, right? When I'm tired and I know that I don't really want to work, or I don't have the energy to give to people, and even if, financially I'm thinking, but I can't afford to not work as many hours this week.
Yeah.
It's funny how like it just... clients stop coming in, or I'll even have cancellations, which happened a few times this week. And I'm really learning to trust this process.
Yeah.
That was a focus of mine this week, that even though I was low energy, I'm trusting this process of, okay, the universe is giving me time to do other things. Now I can continue to waste that time. Yes, it was okay for me to Netflix and snack, but not for days on end, right? So I did a bit of that, and then I found myself interested in learning to sew. I went to the library and got some books, which I haven't done for ages. I've been listening to podcasts, spending time with the dogs, whatever it is. So you could still look at that and go, oh, you haven't really achieved anything this week, because didn't make as much money, didn't see as many clients, and also spent a lot of time just relaxing. But that was really helping refill my cup massively. And I know that I'll now go into this next week feeling so much more energized.
Yeah. And I think, even though I think my week has been massively different in that I have gotten so much done and I feel so exhausted by it, and I have no energy to actually be putting into my self-care routine. So I haven't done meditation in a very long time, even though I know that like changes so much. It's something so small, just like 5 minutes a day of really kind of settling my mind, especially after a really busy day, and kind of like taking the time to refocus my energy. I know how much that is like meaningful and how much that does for me. And I've done none of it because I've just been so tired from the amount of stuff that I've gotten done at work. Like, I've been so productive at work because I have to be. And it's just, sometimes it just gets so draining to be that kind of switched on all the time. And so I've just been like really diving into this escapism stuff and focusing all of my extra energy, whatever energy's left, on stuff that's not refilling me. And it kind of sucks. It's like...
But my question is to you as well, like, have you done that consciously?
Mostly no.
Okay.
However, some of it is a little bit conscious.
Yeah. Because that's where I think this comes in, of when doing nothing, or, going to whatever form of escapism you like to go to, I think when you're making a conscious choice to do it, that changes the whole game. Like when I'm making a conscious choice that like, all right, it's 3:00 in the afternoon, I don't have any more clients, I'm tired, I'm feeling irritable, like I want to watch this series, and this is what I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon doing.
This is what I choose to do.
Yeah, it's like I'm making a conscious choice to be like, this isn't a unconscious, autonomous thing that I'm just not aware of.
Yeah.
I know that because I'm then using it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm then also giving myself permission to not feel guilty, to not have that voice in the back of my head going, well, yeah, but really you should be, you know, working on your website, or you should be doing your taxes, or it's I think when you give yourself that permission, you actually get the refill that you need from your escapism. And then after an hour, a few hours, you know, maybe it's even a couple of days, it's different for everyone and whatever, you know, issues you're dealing with at the time, you feel ready, you just feel re-energized, and you feel ready to start then crawling out of the hole that you've you know, put yourself in.
I think you're right. The intention behind it is kind of what makes it a tool instead of just escapism, or kind of a hindrance to your self-care. And I think when I recognize that I am doing it for, like, with intention, it does feel a little bit less of like a guilty thing. But I definitely, like, with Tempest being just so temperamental.
Tempest is Aiden's
my new
adorable puppy.
She's so cute. She's so amazing. Cute. And she is such a little temper as well. We have aptly named her Tempest. But she has just not been sleeping. And so when she's waking up in the middle of the night, which is frequently, we have kind of made the decision that we're not gonna kind of go out, make sure that she's actually kind of self-soothing a little bit. We'll go out once in the middle of the night if it's like 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, this might be that she actually just needs to go for a wee. And we'll take her outside very briefly without kind of any of the play or any of like the working up, let her go to the bathroom, take her back inside, put her back to bed. And if she wakes up again throughout the night, like we leave it. We don't interact with it. But throughout the night, it's waking me up because I've got that maternal instinct to be like, get up and take care of whatever is like the problem. And Nick's just like sleeping through it. God bless him. And instead of like going and interacting with her, I'm using that time to like get a little bit of reading in as well. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm up anyway. I will just read until she stops barking. And then I put it away. And thankfully, she's only been awake for like 3 or 4 minutes at a time where she's barking, and it's not like dragging on for a whole hour anymore.
Can you just go back to sleep then after reading for 5-10 minutes, whatever it is?
Yeah, actually.
Wow.
It's
totally not do that.
But I think that it's just because I'm so exhausted.
Yeah
like, 2 days into getting her, maybe 3 days into getting her, I woke up at 3 a.m. because I was like, she's just pooed in her crate. I can feel it. I am not going to go. She hasn't made any noise. I'm not going to go and interact with her and like wake her up and move her, but I can just sense it. This, like, tomorrow's going to be just one of those days. I need to go back to bed, and I could not get back to bed. And so I was up from 3 a.m. until 6 a.m. when I went to take her out. And I was just reading that whole time.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get myself to go back to sleep.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that touches on a really important topic with low energy, right? It's like, how well are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Because I know for me, like, sleep, and I'd say this is the same for most people. And I think those who say that it's not are probably in a bit of denial.
Yeah.
Running on a whole different kind of energy system through their lives. But yes, if I'm not getting enough sleep, my energy levels are all out of whack for the next day. Even if I'm kind of alert and awake initially, I'll often get really tired kind of late morning, early afternoon, and then the rest of the day can be a big struggle. And then you might choose to substitute with caffeine.
Oh, yes.
I think there's enough research now that we understand it's not not a good idea.
Yes. Trust me, I'm aware.
Yeah. This 4 caffeines a day.
It's gotten so much worse. And I even like recognize that it's happening because like all of this lack of sleep with Tempest for the last week, I can feel my energy getting lower and lower, and I can feel like my sleep quality getting worse and worse. And I see, I see myself like each day kind of like talking myself into another coffee.
Yeah.
And I almost did it today. I almost made another pot in the app, like just before I came here. And I was like, what purpose would that be? That's false energy. And I'm going to crash so much harder later. And it's just going to be feeding into this cycle. Also, the later that you're having coffee, like the worse it disrupts your sleep. Even if you're one of those people who like, it doesn't affect me, that's kind of my mentality.
Yeah.
After a certain time in the day, even if you're still able to fall asleep, the quality of sleep is worse. So it doesn't like the way that the caffeine affects kind of everything that's going on within your body.
Yeah.
Is quite severe.
For sure. Like for me personally, it doesn't stop me from falling asleep, but I will wake up more during the night.
And I have to be totally frank and clear that I am like a caffeine addict.
Yes.
I drink so much coffee. I love it. I do not intend on stopping drinking coffee, even though I know what it's doing to my body. But like the knowledge is there. I just don't know that I could actually go without it.
We all have our vices, right?
And in terms of vices, this feels like a pretty good one. I'm not like doing cocaine to stay awake.
Yeah, exactly, right? It could be worse. It
could be worse.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I just think it's about being conscious of all of these things, knowing what your triggers are, and making conscious choices to participate in habits that, you know, maybe aren't your best habits.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I just think stepping out of that unconscious, unaware behavior, that's really the first step to changing so many things when it comes to your inner monologue, your emotions, how you choose to think and also react in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Like for me, you know, I've been on this journey of kind of self-discovery and self-mastery for pretty much 10 years now. I'd say a good 10 years.
Is that around the time that you moved to Australia?
Almost, yeah. I came here when I was 18. So
pretty close, yeah.
Yeah,
You were like in the gym and like you were going through the fitness thing.
That's where I kind of mark my starting was when I started going to the gym when I was, pretty much just 17, I think. You know, I was suffering with depression, and the gym was the first thing that helped give me an outlet, but also give my mind some quiet time, because overthinking was just like a plague for me. And I was just telling myself this story and this narrative about who I was, who other people were, the way the world worked.
Yeah.
You know, I was very negative. And I always kind of mark when I started going to the gym as the beginning of my my self-work journey, because that was the first time that I took control of something that had then a positive influence. And obviously from there, like it's evolved and changed so much. But I would definitely say that was the starting point for me. Yeah. But moving on to that, like when it became more of a spiritual thing for me, probably I'd say the start of that was about 5 years ago, when I first started meditating and being a little bit more open to spiritual concepts. Actually, it was just before that. I think this was why I started looking into meditation stuff, because I got out of the gym, which was my happy place, right? And I was in Chatswood, which if anyone's been to Chatswood in Sydney, you know that it's like perpetually busy. It's just like always
it's always
busy.
so loud as well.
It's loud, like there's people just walking in all different directions. Everyone's in their own bubble, no one's paying attention. And that was something that used to irk me to the point of no return, right? So I got out of the gym, I was feeling fresh, I was feeling relaxed. And in the 5 minutes that it took me to walk from the gym to the bus stop, I realized, like, when I got to the bus stop, that I was all like worked up and angry, literally because people had dared to like get in my way when I was walking. And I just had this moment of realization where I was like, this is so unhealthy. Like, why am I angry all the time? And when I got home to my apartment, I sat down and I had a really good think about it, and I realized that it was because I had this constant story running in my head. And I was like, I need to change something about this, because I can't keep walking around being angry and pissed off with everyone. So the first thing that I actually did was that I remembered when I was in drama class, when I was in year 11. And we had to do a piece to Moonlight Sonata, which is a classical piano piece. And I just remember, like, this song just like touched me, right? When I heard it when I was in year 11, it just touched me. It touched my soul in a way that nothing really had before. And I didn't even know what the name of the song was. So I had to do a lot of deep diving on the internet to try and find this song. Finally found it, and I downloaded it on Spotify and a few other kind of classical piano songs. And whenever I would go outside, I would put my headphones in and I would have this music playing. And I did leave myself a little bit more time, you know, to like get to college. Getting through like Town Hall Station was always the worst part.
I don't go to Town Hall Station. It stresses me out so much.
It's tough. And I had to do that, you know, 2-3 times a week when I was in school. So I would always have my headphones in. I'd leave myself a bit of extra time, and I was arriving at college or wherever it was that I was going, just like peaceful. And that was a huge turning point for me, because I realized then that I had the power to change my perspective by changing my own behaviors. I
think similarly, like, I've been on a spiritual journey since probably about 10 years, 11. Well, no, it had to have been longer than that. So like, I have a long history of kind of searching for answers, and I'm very philosophical in nature. I ask a lot of the hard questions. I was raised Catholic, and nothing against the Catholic Church, but the environment that I was raised in wasn't super forgiving towards asking all of those hard questions, and was never kind of one of those scenarios where you'd get a satisfying answer, right? So when I started uni, I started kind of going off and like finding answers, seeking answers, and trying to solve all of the world's hardest questions, right? And I was never happy, never satisfied, never felt like any answer was sufficient. Which led to a lot of inner turmoil. Simultaneous to that is also when I discovered alcohol at uni, right? American uni as well, so very a lot of focus
and sorority.
Joined a sorority. Loved my sorority. Loved kind of the environment and having that support network, because I don't know that I would have been able to get through all of this inner turmoil without some support.
Which is just quickly like really nice to hear, because my depiction from what I've seen on movies is that they're just like awful, bitchy places.
But I also went to like a small liberal arts college, right, where it's so much more intimate and it's a lot more selective isn't the right word, but it's more forgiving. Than some of those bigger universities.
You're from West Virginia?
West Virginia, yeah. Very small town. Went to college in West Virginia as well, so like small kind of bubble. It was really, we called it the Bethany bubble because it was just a small little,
that's cute,
like ecosystem within itself. But yeah, so joined a sorority and had its pitfalls in that every weekend was like a party weekend. You went out with all of your sorority sisters. You went to the fraternities for mixers and had like all of this like energy as well within the house that you had to like contend with a house full of women, right? So all of our cycles were all over the place and we were all going through something and had kind of even more turmoil that added. But what really, I think, made it so much worse is that I was drinking so much. And like just kind of relying on that as like my escape on the weekends and seeking answers throughout kind of the daytime, but then kind of like as a de-stressor, just have a glass of wine, go to a party, really kind of get away from all of the hard questions that you're asking, right?
Yeah.
When we moved here, after uni, me and my husband, then fiance, moved here. And I was still asking all of those questions. I still didn't have any answers. I still was drinking a lot. I still was kind of not really doing any of the self-care stuff. But I was out of that environment where I could ask questions. As a religious studies major, I was like for 4 years just seeking answers.
Yeah.
Right. And like learning all of this stuff about all of these different cultures and all of these different religions and kind of experiencing a little bit of like a quasi-spiritualism through studying all of that stuff and through learning about all of these spiritual practices. And moving here, I didn't have that anymore. I wasn't doing that. Started at college, obviously, for massage. And that had its own sense of kind of spirituality through the body and could be seen as a form of like physical worship.
Yeah.
But it was not the same as kind of mentally engaging in something and like grappling with hard questions and having that kind of outlet, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of doing that, I was relying on some of those unhealthy habits. I did kind of start to experience and play with like going to the gym, going for more runs, like spending more time outside. And like we were living in Mossman for a while, so I was like right next to the beach and could go to Balmoral and like kind of take some of that energy, but then I was still depleting myself with drinking. And it, even though I kind of started to get into more of a spiritual rhythm, I kind of re-experienced, or I guess rediscovered a passion for Christianity. And
I remember when you started going back to church.
Yeah.
Because, we'd become friends by that point. And I remember you talking about it, that you just decided that you were going to start venturing back into that space.
And I'd tried like a Catholic church first and had that same reaction that I had when I was in high school, where I was just like I could feel the sense of like dissatisfaction that it wasn't going to answer my questions. It wasn't going to feel personable because Catholicism is so rooted in tradition, which works really well for some people. Having that routine, like the way that the mass is structured is the same every single time. You can rely on it. You can find like God through rhythm, which is definitely one method. And I don't want to say that it's wrong, but it definitely wasn't like there was no connection. There was no soul in it for me.
Yeah.
And so I tried different churches and I found my current church, and the first day walked in, felt like the spirit in the place and like started crying and was like,
that's beautiful,
trying to hold myself together because I was surrounded by all of these strangers who are now friends, and I was like just trying to like not be that person who like shows up on the first day and cries, and found kind of some of that reconnection with, I guess, a spirituality and a sense of belonging and all of that. But there was still part of me that was living very unauthentically and kind of not actually taking care of myself on a deeper level, because I was still engaging in a lot of destructive habits of drinking on weekends and overindulging and having those nights where I was just like home alone and so I'm bored, and what do? I'll open a bottle of wine and watch Grey's Anatomy and drunk tweet about it for hours and don't look for me on Twitter. And just like going down rabbit holes that were not fulfilling. And I was experiencing these hangovers and these emotional hangovers, even worse, that would last days. And I would feel so depleted and so empty, and kind of had this realization that I was self-destructing.
Yeah.
And so a year and a bit ago, I stopped drinking. And that change alone led me to an actual self-care journey that I never would have gone on if I was still drinking, I think. All of the quasi-self-care stuff that I was doing that wasn't actually taking care of myself on a deeper level, I never would have kind of delved into on a way that is actually self-care if I hadn't stopped.
Yeah. And you know what was beautiful about that? Because I remember when you decided to stop drinking, like there'd been an event, right?
The catalyst moment.
Yeah, the catalyst that finally made you go like, okay, enough is enough. But I think it'd be fair to say, right, that like previous to that, there had been numerous other occasions where you could have had that same realization, but didn't. And I think this is so important for everyone to hear, is that when you have any kind of behavior that's causing destruction within yourself or with others around you, but in my opinion, like if you're causing destruction around others around you, you're absolutely damaging yourself at the same time. You are given so many opportunities to fix that, or to look deeper and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And again, it comes with a level of consciousness that, you know, not everyone has. And you have to start asking these questions before you can really go there. Because you have to care enough to actually want to change, and not just by saying, I really want to stop doing this, but really having no kind of plan around how you're going to do that. And, you know, it's fine. Like if I want to quit junk food and I say, okay, Monday to Friday, I'm not going to have junk food, but I will on the weekends. Great. But if I don't look at why am I relying so heavily on junk food to make myself feel good? Or why am I relying so heavily on drinking to make myself feel good? And going past those answers of like, oh, because I like the taste, or because
it makes me feel more social with my friends. I want to have that connection.
You know, I'd say like 9.9 times out of 10, like that's genuinely not the case for why anyone kind of partakes in whatever addictive behavior that they have.
And that's not to say that like alcohol or junk food is inherently bad.
No.
It's just about how you're using it.
And
I definitely was, even though I would hesitate to call myself an alcoholic because I didn't like feel this urge to always have it. It was just that when I had one, I would talk myself into having another, and then talk myself into having another. Et cetera, into oblivion, right? Like, and it wasn't like that every time, but it was like that enough that it was definitely an unhealthy habit.
Exactly. And it ties into that unconscious behavior, right? Like you don't, a lot of the time you're not even aware when you're convincing yourself to do something. Like what I realized when I took a real big step towards trying to change my relationship with junk food, which I've had a very poor relationship with junk food for most of my life. And I realized that whenever I'd be sat on the sofa trying to be good, and I'd decide, be good. And I'd decide that, okay, I'm giving in, right? And I'd get up, and on my way to the kitchen, I realized I said this in my head every single time. Once I started paying attention, I said this every single time. I just can't help myself. I just can't help myself. And a lot of the times I'd even be saying it in a little jokey, like, I just can't help myself.
It's fine.
Like it was funny, but it wasn't. Like when I realized I was doing this all the time, I was like, man, like, no, I can't help myself, because I'm not helping myself by saying that. I am reaffirming to myself time and time again, I don't have enough self-control to stop this habit.
And you're justifying it as well by saying like it's outside of my control.
And I think that's the same for any addiction, right? You probably have some form of sentence, word, memory, whatever it is, that when you're triggered, when the craving is triggered, that's your affirmation to yourself. So I want to talk about this more in depth in kind of other episodes, because it's become
a huge thing.
It's become such a huge thing for me and has played such a huge role in my journey, and I'm now using it with my clients a lot, and it's working. is positive affirmations and changing the story that you tell yourself, and being very, very careful about the language that you use, especially in your own head. Especially in your own head, because you can go around saying all the right things because that's what you think you should say, but still be having totally negative or toxic or unhelpful thoughts, stories, narratives running in your head.
Do you know Brené Brown? Have you?
Yes.
Yeah. She's got that bit, she's got the Netflix special where she talks about like the story that I'm telling myself is, and the way that utilizing that phrasing when communicating with people can change a whole conversation. And I think it works within yourself as well.
For sure.
To be like the story that I'm telling myself, to remind yourself that this is a narrative that you're feeding yourself, like literally subconsciously telling yourself XYZ.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think for our listeners, one thing that I really, if you don't take anything else away from today, please take this away, is like, just start listening to what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
Constantly, right? You need to make an effort to tune into this stuff, because it is so telling for all of the habits that you might have that you don't want to have, or that you are seeking to change. Start paying really close attention to what you're thinking, what stories you're telling yourself.
Yeah. Especially when you're kind of leaning into those bad habits, or the self-destructive, I guess, things that you do for yourself that aren't serving you, or they're not taking care of yourself. Noticing those moments, even just noticing them first and foremost. Yeah. Huge first step.
Yeah, it's becoming aware of it, right? Start becoming conscious and aware of everything that's going on in your life, because when it comes to, I mean, the whole name of our podcast, right, is like living your authentic life.
Yeah.
I think when we're living our authentic lives, we're genuinely happy, or you're becoming happier. And it's about stripping away all of this stuff, all of these narratives that we've been holding. And a lot of the time it's been unconscious, right? Stuff that you might have been thinking since you were a kid and you didn't even realize that you were holding on to it. It's about stripping away all of that and really getting to the core of who you actually are, not what your experiences have shaped you to be, not who your parents are or where you live or what your culture is. It's like, who are you as an individual at your truest expression of yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really nice, positive way to end it. We haven't really talked about like good self-care habits or anything, but we have talked a lot about kind of the first step to actually building those habits, right? And that's like noticing the bad habits and noticing the narratives that you're telling yourself, and like, what better place to start?
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think next episode we will actually
aim to actually give some helpful
advice and some tools and therapies that you can use for yourself that cost nothing, that take, little to no external effort. It's really all internal changes that we want to help you guys with.
And we want to share our own journey as well.
That's it, right? We know we're not gurus.
we know we're not great at this stuff.
We've still got like a bunch of stuff that we're working through ourselves.
And we've literally just spent 30 minutes telling you about a lot of the stuff that we still don't have sorted.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I hope that by sharing our journeys with you guys and what has helped and worked for us, tried and tested, is going to be of benefit for you. I really hope if we can help even one person, then my goal has been satisfied.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Well, it's been beautiful.
It's been authentic.
It's been authentic. And we will catch you guys next time.
Thanks so much.